Information in this podcast is of general nature only. It does not take into account your personal needs or objectives. Before investing in any product, you need to consider your personal situation, needs and objectives. Always seek professional advice for your particular circumstances and needs prior to investing.
Hi everyone, hi Chelsea.
Hello.
So today I'm with Chelsea from Disability Housing Solutions, and I won't steal any of Chelsea's thunder. Chelsea, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and what you do at Disability Housing Solutions and what your background is?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea Cash. I've been working in the sector for 23 years, and this job hopefully will be my final one. I love working with Disability Housing Solutions, not just because they're watching and they expect me to say that, but great company, great ethics, wonderful working environment, really enjoying it. You might think, what have I been doing for 23 years? We wouldn't have enough time to explain that. But what I will say is that I've worked with many people in different settings. And I wouldn't be in disability services if I didn't absolutely adore people and adore working in this space. So I'll just continue on.
What are some of the areas within the sector that you've worked in the past 23 years, Chelsea?
Yeah, look, I think one of my favourite jobs was being a behaviour support clinician. So writing positive behaviour support plans for people who needed extra support around managing their emotions generally.
Yep.
So that was awesome. I've worked with people who are at risk of becoming homeless, so who also had a disability. I was an advocate in that role. I've been on the board of a women's refuge for 8 years as well. So there's just a few of the jobs that I can think of right now.
Okay. And what's your current role with DHS?
Oh, so I'm a housing connections specialist.
Right. So you need to decipher that for everyone. What does that mean? And to translate that into normal person talk.
Housing connections specialist.
Yeah.
Everything in Disability Housing Solutions is a mouthful. Just the name.
Yes, we were just having that chat a second ago. But that's true of government, right? I mean, National Disability Insurance Scheme, National Disability Insurance Agent, like everything's long and then everything's then condensed into little acronyms that you need to know what it is. So,
absolutely.
So what does a housing connection specialist do?
So my job is specifically to get to know a person and their SDA determination, and to match them with the house in the right area, with the right specs, to help them fill out a few different things along the way, talk to a property manager of that house, get a lease, have a chat to the owner. Mm-hmm. Is it enough money for them to be able to pay their mortgage? Is it what they were expecting? Mm-hmm. We call that doing a FESO, so feasibility check. Mm-hmm. And then, taking them right to the end and saying, have a great life in your new house.
So that really dovetails in with our tenancy matching services, right? So we're matching the tenant, what they have in their plan, the funding they have, the landlord and the building all together.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes. Great.
Well, you described it better than me. So do you want my job?
No, I don't want your job. I like my job. I get to do recordings and have cups of tea while I chat with people. That's wonderful. All right. So, I mean, that's a pretty broad background. You've been a clinician, you've been an advocate, you've been on the board of a refuge, and now you're literally connecting the dots with people, property, and returns for investors. Yeah. And so I think I can see how all of your background would really put you in a good position to look at a plan and go, okay, I see what this person's disabilities are, what they can and what they need, and what the plan looks like. It all makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, I assume that you can identify that and go, hang on, this plan looks a bit inadequate, and we can go back and deal with that.
Yeah, 100%. Look, and sometimes we get people who don't quite have their determination yet from NDIS. So we will wait with them and connect in with them until that happens, or we'll have a chat to the landlord and see if they would, be interested in the person moving in before they get their determination,
Oh yeah.
if they're paying rent. Yeah.
Okay. It's really, I mean, it's really interesting. We're look today, for everyone watching, we're going to have a chat about something that we're calling the rental step down model, right? And well, that's one of the things. Who knows then where we'll go? I mean, we'll just go where we go, right? But what and in previous videos, Lauren and I, and Lauren and Susan and I, and Phil and I, with something I'm really passionate about, and that really irritates me is seeing these spruikers out there in social media grifting people and selling them homes that we know could take a year or 2 years or 5 years to fill because they're built in an acreage of 40 identical homes that don't make any sense. And there's examples of this. There's not hyperbole. There's an entire city block in Darwin being made of robust homes. The whole thing is never going to get filled in 100 years for robust. There's whole suburbs down in Western Melbourne, hundreds of vacant SDA homes. Parts of Queensland, out at west of Brisbane, out past Ipswich and Ripley, up at Hervey Bay. There's places that these spruikers keep selling homes. They do not engage with an organisation like DHS or an SDA provider to say, hey, is there demand here? They just sell poor, unsuspecting people homes, and they're just grifters, right? I'm pretty flat about that. The reason I'm passionate about it is because our phone rings multiple times a week with people who have spent $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 on these homes, and they ring up kind of like, "Hey, guess what? Great news! My house is going to be finished next month. Can I have some tenants, please?" And expecting, a lineup out the door of prospective people with disability wanting to pay top dollar for this thing they bought a year ago, right? You've heard the stories, Chelsea, and you've spoken to Phil, and we've spoken a lot about it, right? And it's heartbreaking. And the reality is that these homes, while they may fill, it's not going to be in 3 months, 6 months, maybe not 12 months. So when these investors, and this is where the idea of the rental step down model came from, and it literally means we're stepping down expectations. We're stepping expectations from here down to here for the time being, and maybe permanently, and maybe down to here for the time being, then back to here, but never back up here. It's a step down, right?
Yeah.
So, and I know that you get this. I'm sorry if I'm mansplaining, Chelsea. This is for the this is for everybody else, right? I'm sorry if I'm because you get it, like your background, you get it, right? So we can go to an owner, and particularly with someone with your background, like in women's shelters, and we're working with a couple of charities now in that space to talk about, can we make available this home to you for your organisation's purpose, especially right now with the cost of living and the amount of homeless and the amount of people who have circumstances have changed, and they could be working professionals but still find themselves homeless. They can pay rent. There's nothing to rent, right? And we can make it available. So I'm banging on a bit. So Chels, can you sort of explain a bit how you see that rental step down working, and the types of organisations that might be able to work with that and tie into that?
Yeah. Look, I guess at the moment we are speaking with SILs mostly, who are sick of paying, massive amounts in rent. There is a movement coming where landlords, SILs and the supports that they provide and the homes will be made separate. So I guess we're sort of anticipating that and saying, hey, let's make available something for you in the SDA space with owner participation and understanding and approval. People that you're supporting already, are they eligible for SDA? And the SIL most likely will say, oh no, if they don't use a wheelchair, they're, you know, no. And that's nothing against SILs, you know, because I've worked in 3 or 4 SIL jobs myself. Nothing against them, but you know, people don't really understand the SDA space and what eligibility is. And it's a bit of an education piece that DHS will have with SILs, and we will sit down with a cup of tea and we will talk to you about, you know, your eligibility of the people that are living in the houses you manage. And, you know, some might actually have, and this has happened many times throughout my career, people have SDA and everyone forgets about it. So it's in their
Really?
plan. Yeah.
They can just stay in their plan and go, oh, God, and just leave it in the background and never use it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know, I remember a specific SIL that I worked for that I won't name, but they're a very big company. And they applied for SDA on behalf of all of the people that were living in their houses.
Wow.
And they got SDA for all of them. But it was put into plans. It wasn't told to support coordinators. And I was a support coordinator at the time. It wasn't told to me. I kept trying to find out where the application was and what was happening with it. And I kept getting roadblocks. And eventually I left that organisation and I found out a year later it still hadn't been resolved. So, you know, it's just, this is what happens though. Like everything just gets.
Why is that? What's that all about? Is there a motivation there, or is it just incompetence or not understanding, or what's the rationale? What's the reason for that?
Yeah, look, I think incompetence by the SIL. So, you know, the company just had people moving in, moving out, not a very stable company, weren't looking after their staff. So, you know, all of that information kept getting lost. So every time I went, I'd meet with someone different.
Yeah.
And I'd ask them to do the job, go and find this SDA funding.
I suppose to steel man them a little bit, I guess. There's a lot. There's a lot you got to do.
Yeah.
For a SIL, there's so many compliance boxes to tick. And you know, I recorded a video with Lauren about this a couple of weeks ago. The squeeze from the top, everyone's trying to cut costs from the top down, and from the bottom up, costs or expenses are getting more. Is literally a squeeze, and they're trying to sort of find their feet in this environment where they've been told to charge less, but the costs have gone up. And then also try and understand rules around something that's not in their area of expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got the NDIS. Every time you ring them, you get a different person. You get people who don't understand, don't know how to look up things. They pass you on to someone else and never rings you back. It's just sometimes this is all too much, and it's no one's fault in particular. It's just part of the wheel. And you know, one person does a slight wrong thing and it moves on to the next. So I think with SILs, sitting down, talking to them, helping them, you know, understand, you know, and if they don't have SDA at the moment, and they're eligible, we will do an eligibility check. An OT will be involved. We'll think about that together, and if they want to apply, there's an opportunity there for them to perhaps move into one of the SDAs and bring along their friends that they live with. So say if there's, you know, 3 people, one of them's eligible for SDA and the other 2 are going through the process as well, or maybe one is, they move into this house together. As soon as one of them gets their SDA determination, we call it a step down.
Yep.
So they're all paying market rent, as in they pay their RRC each. That's 25% of the pension, plus your rent assistance included. So that comes to about $695, I think, 3 of them. Pay that to the landlord. Perhaps the landlord will thank you because their house has been empty for 12 months.
Right.
So
they were sold this thing that, you know, it's a 3-participant HPS or something like that, and it's vacant for 18 months. And we come along and say, listen, we've got a single participant, high physical support, which attracts a fairly large payment anyone on their own.
Yeah.
But they can have a couple of their friends move in under the Annex H provision. They can contribute their RRC plus a little bit more in allowance attached to the guy with the SDA, right? Yeah. So they're not going to get their 3 sets of HPS SDAs, but it can still be a six-figure sum on its own.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a significant amount, and
Yeah.
people won't say no. So this
Yeah.
is something really viable for SILs to actually think about.
So what's the benefit for a SIL here?
So the benefit for the SIL would be that this is going to happen anyway. Like, you know, supports and
So the
accommodation is
separation
going
of
to be
supports and
separate.
accommodation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but, you know, if they jump in now and start thinking about it, they can actually better someone's life as well. Like, this is a home that's going to be way better than anything on the rental market in accessibility for the
Yep.
people they support. But I guess the other benefit is, you know, they're not paying rent anymore. So
Yeah.
that can save them $1,000 a week.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a, I mean, and this is the feedback I'm getting from some SILs I'm chatting with. Their accommodation, if it's running well, they break even on the homes. There might be a tiny bit of profit, but it's not worth the effort they go to keep the house running, right? But then if there's a vacancy, if someone moves out or circumstances change or rent goes up or whatever, then it's a cost. And there's only so much you can take from a participant's pension to cover the cost. You can't take all of it. It's only a small amount anyway. So the SIL's got to cop it.
Yeah.
What if, as a SIL, you paid zero rent for a property, but you can still manage the supports of the whole house if you do a good job?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
It's
to me,
a good
it's a
scheme.
no-brainer.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you've got a SIL background, right? So, I mean, put yourself back in the SIL office years ago, and 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 you hear a concept like this, so you're aware of the challenges, and there's a lot of SILs that are operating at a 1% margin. 1%. Like, as a business owner, that's terrifying. 1% is no room for anything to go wrong.
Yeah.
None. And so you're operating inside this reality of a 1% margin, and you work out, hey, I can eliminate, you know, if I've got 4 SIL houses that cost, you know, $800 a week each, that's what's that, $160,000 of cost I can eliminate overnight. Why wouldn't I look at that seriously?
Oh, absolutely. You know, as a BDM for the last company that I worked for, I was constantly getting raked over the coals for, you know, the fact that we're losing money. And, you know, if we'd been able to do this, absolutely, we would jump at that chance. And I would have felt really good bringing it to my bosses because it was something that I was doing to help.
What would be reasons a SIL would not want to do this?
Would not want to do this. I think, you know what? I think SILs are really afraid of the people that they're supporting, that they're going to cease supports with them. I do.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you're doing a fabulous job
Mhm.
and you've got good connections with the families of the people that you support, you'll be
Excuse
absolutely,
me.
bless you.
Thank you.
You'll be absolutely fine. People don't want to leave their supports. They don't. They want stability. They want relationship.
Mhm.
They don't want to leave unless there is abuse, neglect, exploitation happening, or, you know, there's too many workers that they don't like. They're not going anywhere. So SILs shouldn't be scared of that. What they should be doing is safeguarding the way that they work with people and looking at themselves and saying, okay, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Let's fix this. And they should be asking the people that they support for that, so that they can do something about it. So they should not be worried about that.
I've never heard someone else explain it that well before, what you just said.
Thank
That
you.
really, like, that people, because people don't like change. Human beings fundamentally resist change.
100%.
All of us do. And they don't want to have to go support shopping. They don't, right? So if you're doing a good job, firstly, you can eliminate all of the expense and risk from accommodation, but it frees you up, like, at a management level, right? If you're like a SIL middle manager and a lot of your time is spent taking care of properties in the background. Imagine if all of that goes away and your capacity to manage more homes as SDA homes, as supports goes up. So the company productivity increases
Yeah.
while reducing costs of the homes. Because also the sills don't have to pay the power bills, the water bills, the like, and if it's a defect, the landlord fix it up. Like, there's a lot of benefits. And then an organisation like Disability Housing Solutions, as the SDA provider, are also the property manager. So it's really, there's only one phone number to call if there's a problem with the house at any level.
So true. Yeah.
You call DHS. There's one phone number. Hey, there's a problem with, I don't know, the plumbing in bedroom 1. Great, we'll have a plumber there inside 6 hours. No problem. Let's get that resolved, right?
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about it.
It's so true. And you know what? I completely forgot about that part of it. But, you know, it's really, it's not just about rent. It's about that service. It's all of the stress is taken off you.
Yeah.
And you can just concentrate on building better supports to your participants.
I mean, how many, if you're a support provider, like an in-home support provider, customer facing, how many hours out of, let's say a participant had, you know, a full-time care allocated, right? And it's spread across, you know, 7 shifts throughout the week, 35 shifts throughout the week. How much of that time you spent looking after property versus care facilitation?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a great deal, you know, absolutely. And gosh, just the amount of time something broke in a house that, you know, that we were managing as a company, and one of the service managers would have to go out there, no experience, not an electrician, but the electrician's not coming, and, you know, they're being, might I say, a little bit stingy around paying for an electrician. So the person goes and they try to fix it themselves with the toolkit that they have in their car.
Jesus.
I used to see that all the time over the years, all the time. So, you know, people going in and doing stuff, people, you know, painting the walls because the rental place wouldn't do it. You know, because it looked like it was moldy or it had, you know, dents in it or whatever. They would get permission to paint the walls to make it look better. So you're right. Like, there was a substantial amount of time spent on maintaining that property.
All right. I think we've sort of painted the picture there pretty well, right? There's a lot of benefits to that. And what about these properties where maybe a SIL doesn't want to take it over, and it's in an area where we're not going to find a tenant for 12 months or so, and we can look at different charities and organisations, and there's an organisation at the moment we're having preliminary conversations with called Forgotten Women, right? And I'll say the name out loud, and I'm just going to assume that that's going to come together at some point, and we can do some work together to support some ladies. So how do you see that working?
Yeah, look, I think it will be quite similar. So it'll be an eligibility discussion. And I know that my manager has had those discussions with a couple of women and sat with them and has found that they are eligible. And, you know, people don't know that they're eligible. They think you have to have this, you know, high and complex disability. Well, you don't. So, you know, she's found eligibility there. So it would be the same, really. The Stepdown project would work the same. Jump into a house and live there until your eligibility comes through. Celebrate and continue living there.
It sounds so simple when you take away all of the other factors, yeah?
It really is simple. People always think that stuff is not simple, but if you've got somebody like me or, you know, my colleagues there to do it for you, then you don't have to worry. Like, we'll make you comfortable, we'll sit with you, and we'll get it done. And honestly, we all do, and we love it.
All right, awesome. Chelsea, I think that's about it. You know, we're trying to keep these to about 20 minutes. Is there anything else you'd love to sort of say or share, or anything else? I don't want you to feel like you haven't had an opportunity to say anything you want to say.
No, it's been a very even conversation. I'm not used to having even conversations with men, David. So
Ah,
thank you very much.
you're
I don't
welcome,
know
I
if you
guess. I
can
mean,
put that in there.
I just try to have a conversation.
No, it's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I guess, look, all I want to say is, if this interests you, just come and see us, have a chat. You know, we'll come to you. Let's just talk about it, because the people that we support are the people that are the most important, and they are our bread and butter. And we wouldn't be in this industry if we didn't absolutely love supporting people, and they deserve beautiful homes, and we have those. So let's have a think about what we can do together.
Chelsea, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I'd love to do this again sometime. You're brave. And I'll get
You're
this up
welcome.
over the weekend, early next week, and I'll make sure I send you the link so we can all cheer you on.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Chelsea.
No worries.